Welcome back, my dear nighttime wanderer. My name is Silas, and I'm your storyteller here at Slumberlight Tales. I'm very glad that you found your way here tonight, to this quiet corner of the evening, where the world grows softer at the edges, and even the busiest day can finally set down its weight. Before we begin, let the room around you be exactly what it is. A little dim, perhaps. A little still. A place that asks nothing of you. If the day has been long, you don't need to replay it. You don't need to solve it. You don't need to carry it forward into the dark. Tonight, there is only a simple thing to do. Step outside, walk a familiar street, and follow a sound that should not be there. Our story begins when you leave the last bright pocket of your evening behind. It's late enough that the shops have pulled their shutters down and the cafes have wiped their tables clean. Late enough that the city has started to speak in its softer voice. Streetlights instead of sunlight, distant engines instead of crowded sidewalks, the hush of apartments settling into their own private worlds. The air is cool on your face, carrying the faint scent of damp stone and tired asphalt. Somewhere nearby, a drain gurgles once and goes quiet. Your shoes tap a steady rhythm over the pavement, and each step feels like a small agreement. Forward, forward, and forward. You pass windows that glow behind curtains. You pass a closed florist with a few pale petals caught against the grate. You pass a bus stop with an empty bench and a timetable that looks like it belongs to a different hour. The street is the street you know. It has always been here. It will be here again in the morning. And then, between one step and the next, you hear it. Not music, not voices, not the distant hiss of tires on wet road, but water, a slow, gentle lap, wood meeting a soft current. The sound is so quiet that at first you think it's memory. Some summer evening by a river, some holiday pier, the hollow comfort of boats tied up and waiting. But you are not near a river. You are on a city street with brick walls and parked cars and a line of street lamps that have never, to your knowledge, lit a dock. You keep walking. The sound keeps pace. It moves in and out, as if carried by a breeze you can't feel. A calm, patient rhythm that refuses to hurry. It threads through the city noises like a silver strand, unbroken. You slow without meaning to, and at the next lamppost, something else catches your eye. A rope is tied around the base. Not a bit of string, not a discarded cord, but proper rope, thick and pale, its fibers worn smooth as if many hands have pulled it, coiled it, trusted it. The knot is neat, practical, the kind of knot that assumes it will be used again. You glance down the street. Another lamppost, another rope, then another, each one tied at the same height, each one with the same quiet certainty, as if the city itself has agreed to hold something steady just for a while. The sound of water grows clearer, and now, beneath it, a faint creak, wood flexing, a slow shift of weight, like a hull settling into a mooring. You stop beneath a streetlight. Its glow spills into the pavement in a familiar circle. But tonight, the light seems to stretch, lengthening into a soft smear, as if it's being reflected from a surface that isn't quite there. The air looks deeper somehow, not foggy, not smoky, simply layered, like a thin veil has been pulled across the street, and you are seeing it from the wrong angle. The sound of water is right above you now. You lift your gaze, and there they are. Boats, ferries really, gliding through the air as if the sky has learned a new way to behave. They drift just above the rooftops, broad and steady, made of dark wood that drinks in lamplight and gives it back warmer. Lanterns hang from their rails in small, patient clusters, each flame a contained glow, never flickering, never sharp. They don't bob like balloons. They don't strain like machines. They move the way leaves move on a slow river, surrendered to a current that knows exactly where it is going. You watch one pass overhead. Its underside is carved with curling lines, patterns like wind and wave and constellations, all braided together. A faint shimmer trails behind it, not smoke, not spark, but something like light, brushed thin and stretched long. The lap of water continues, impossibly close, and then the ferry begins to lower. It eases down with the same calm precision as a boat coming to shore. As it descends, the ropes on the lampposts lift slightly, as if pulled by invisible hands. The fibers tighten, the knots hold, and with a soft, wooden sigh, the ferry settles at the edge of the street space, perfectly aligned with the curb. A gangplank unhooks itself from the side and folds down. It does not clatter. It touches the pavement as gently as a page turning. For a moment, you simply stand there, caught between the ordinary street and this impossible dock that has been hiding in it all along. No one calls out. No bell rings, no voice announces a destination. Yet the ferry waits. Its lanterns glow as if they have all the time in the world. At the rail stands a figure in a long coat the color of midnight rain. Not tall in a looming way, not small in a timid way, but simply present, grounded. Their hand rests lightly on the wood, as if they can feel the current through it. They turn their head when you take a step closer, and their eyes meet yours without surprise. A nod, a small tilt of the chin, like a doorman acknowledging a familiar guest. You step onto the gangplank. The wood is smooth beneath your shoes, warmed by the lanterns, and as you cross the threshold, the city sounds soften behind you, not vanish. Nothing is torn away, but blurred like lights seen through thin rain. You step onto the deck. The ferry shifts its weight once, settling you the way a boat settles a passenger. A subtle adjustment, a quiet acceptance. Lantern light gathers along the rail, pooling in honey-colored circles. The air smells faintly of varnished wood and something clean and open, like cold water under moonlight. The figure by the rail speaks in a low voice, close to the sound of the water. Evening, they say, as if this is the most ordinary thing in the world. Then they lift one hand, and the ferry begins to move. The gangplank folds up, the ropes slacken. The street below remains exactly as it was. Cars parked at the curb, windows dark, the pale circle of the streetlight unmoved. Yet the ferry is no longer part of it. It glides forward into the air, and the city slips underneath you. At first, you travel just above the buildings. You pass over chimneys and rooftop gardens and the backs of billboards. You see skylights like dark pools. You see laundry lines hanging still in the night, untouched by wind. Below, the street lamps form a quiet chain, one after another, stretching away like a patient path. From this height, the city feels like a map laid out gently, with all its sharp corners softened. The lap of water is steady at the ferry's sides. You lean slightly toward the rail, yet there is no ocean below, no river, only air. And yet the sound is real, and the ferry's motion has that same slow, gliding certainty of a vessel held by current. The sky around you is not empty. It feels shaped like a wide corridor of invisible flow. Ahead, other ferries drift. Some are small, carrying only one lantern and one silent traveler. Some are larger, their decks dotted with passengers wrapped in scarves, their faces turned outward to the night. They pass without wake, as if each one knows exactly how much space to leave. Now and then, a ferry glides near enough that you can see its passengers clearly. A woman holding a paper cup in both hands, steam curling up and vanishing. A man with a satchel at his feet, his head tipped back to watch the stars. Someone with hair like silver thread, looking as though they've been waiting for this ride all week. No one stares. No one asks questions. Everyone seems to be here for the same reason. The simple, quiet fact of being carried. And so the ferry climbs on. The rooftops drop away. The city becomes a soft cluster of lights beneath you, like embers scattered on dark cloth. Up here, the stars look closer, not brighter, but nearer, as if the air is thinner and less stubborn about distance. The lanterns along the ferry's rail glow in steady answer. The ferrymen, because that is what they are, you realize, moves to a small wheel set into the deck. It is not large, not ornate, just worn smooth by use. They rest their palm on it and make the slightest turn. The ferry adjusts course with a subtle sweep, and you feel the current shift around you like a slow exhale. After a time, the ferryman steps to your side and, without looking directly at you, speaks again. First stop, they say. Ahead, a glow gathers in the open sky. At first, it looks like a low cluster of lanterns, the kind you might see strung across a courtyard. Then it resolves into shape, a platform hanging in the air, broad and steady, floating with such confidence that it makes the idea of falling feel distant and unimportant. The ferry eases toward it. As you draw nearer, you can see the platform is a café, not tucked against any building, not clinging to any tower. It simply exists, high above the city, surrounded on all sides by open night. Its floorboards are pale wood, worn smooth. Small tables are spaced generously, each with a lamp under a glass shade that glows like a captured sunset. A counter sits at one end, made of dark oak and brass, and behind it, shelves hold jars that shine faintly. Tea leaves, sugar crystals, curled citrus peel, small bundles of herbs tied with twine. A few people sit there in comfortable silence. Some have blankets over their knees. Some have their coats folded neatly in the backs of chairs. One person is sketching slow lines in a notebook, their pencil moving as if it has all the time in the world. The ferry docks without a sound. A small line of rope lifts from the platform, tightens, holds. A plank extends, and you step off. The cafe's air is warmer than the open sky, as if it holds heat carefully, saving it for tired travelers. It smells of steeping tea and toasted honey and the faint spice of something you can't name. The lamps cast soft circles that do not compete with the stars. They seem to cooperate with them. Behind the counter, the barista looks up. Their face is calm, their expression kind in a quiet, practiced way. They do not ask what you want. They simply set a cup on the counter. Steam rises in slow curls. The scent is gentle, something like chamomile, like orange peel, like the memory of a bakery you once passed on a winter evening. You wrap your hands around the cup. The warmth sinks into your fingers as if it has been waiting to do that. You take a sip. The flavor is not startling. It doesn't demand attention. It simply arrives and settles, softening the edges of your thoughts, the way warm light softens the edges of a room. Around you, the café moves very slightly, the way a boat moves when it's tied to a dock and the water is calm. But nothing slides, nothing tips. Cups remain steady. Pages do not flutter. The whole platform seems to understand balance. You take your time. Below, the city lights glitter in patient patterns. Above, the stars are wide and close. A bell does not ring when it's time to leave. Instead, the ferry's lanterns brighten almost imperceptibly, like eyelids lifting. The plank lowers again. The ferryman waits with that same steady posture, hands resting lightly on the rail. You set the empty cup down. The barista nods once, as if accepting your thanks without needing to hear it. And you step back onto the ferry. It pulls away and the café remains, floating in its pool of warmth, already turning its attention to the next traveler. The ferry climbs again. The current carries you forward into deeper sky. Now the air is cooler, clearer. The lantern light on the deck becomes more precious, a small moving island of warmth. The ferryman guides the ferry into a broader flow, and you feel the change. The motion slows, lengthens, deepens. This is not a street above the city. This is a river of air that does not care what lies beneath it. For a long stretch, there is only the glide, the soft lap of unseen water, the faint creak of wood, the lantern's steady glow. Then, far ahead, another cluster of light appears. Not scattered, not accidental, but arranged. As you approach, the shapes resolve into a second destination, smaller than a city, larger than a single platform. A settlement. It floats like a group of islands held together by bridges, each platform a different size, each one lit with lamps that glow low and constant. Some lamps are glass globes filled with a pale golden liquid. Some are lanterns made of thin metal and etched with patterns that look like waves. Some are simply bowls of light sitting on railings, as if light itself can be ladled and placed. The ferry slows. A dock extends from the nearest platform. Ropes rise to meet it, looping themselves around cleats, as if guided by careful hands. The ferry settles, and the plank lowers. You step off into the settlement. The boards beneath your feet are smooth and springy, like old pure wood that has learned how to hold many kinds of weight. A gentle hum runs through the structure, not mechanical, not loud, but present, like distant singing carried through a wall. People move along the platforms at unhurried pace. Some carry baskets, some carry nothing at all. A few stand at the rails and watch the currents, their faces quiet, as if listening. There are small shops here, but only a few. A stall with hanging wind chimes made of shell and glass. A narrow counter where someone pours warm broth into ceramic cups, steam rising and vanishing into the open sky. A book table where the covers are plain and the titles are written in ink that seems to shift when you blink. You walk forward, guided less by signs than by the gentle logic of the place. Bridges curve between platforms, their railings braided with rope and thin metal vines. When you step onto a bridge, it sways in a slow, contented rhythm, like a hammock settling. Overhead, a ferry passes, its lanterns drifting like a slow constellation. You reach a wider platform at the settlement center. Here, the lights are softer. Here, the air feels still, protected, as if the currents flow around the place rather than through it. In the middle of the platform stands a low structure, part shelter, part pavilion, its roof made of overlapping wooden slats like scales. Beneath it, benches circle a shallow basin filled with something that is not water and not glass, yet reflects both lantern light and stars. A person sits near the basin, hands folded in their lap. Their coat is pale, the color of moonlit stone. Their hair is dark and tied back neatly. They look up as you approach, not surprised, not curious in a sharp way, simply attentive. You came up on the ferries, they say. It is not a question. You nod. They glance out toward the currents, as if checking the shape of the night, then back to you. The city gets heavy, they add, almost gently. Some nights it needs a place to send its weight. They do not say who built the settlement. They do not explain how the sky learned to carry boats. They do not offer a history. They simply stand and gesture toward the rail at the edge of the platform. You follow the gesture. From here, the view opens. The ferries move along their invisible routes, gliding through the night like slow thoughts. The café's warm glow is visible in the distance, a small ember hanging in the sky. Far below, the city's lights tremble in their grid, unaware of what floats above it. The person beside you speaks again, quietly. The ferries don't take anyone far, they say. They take them out of the noise. They rest their hands on the railing. A faint sheen of lantern light slides over their knuckles. Enough for a while, they add. You stand there longer than you expected to. You watch a ferry drift past, carrying two travelers wrapped in a shared blanket. You watch another ferry pass empty, lanterns glowing as if it's on its way to collect someone who has not yet looked up. The settlement's lights hum softly. The open sky holds steady. Eventually, without any announcement, the currents shift. You feel it in the movement under your feet. A subtle turn, a slow change of direction, like a tide deciding it is time to go back out. The ferryman appears again at the edge of the platform, lantern in hand. They do not call out your name. They simply wait at the plank, already lowered, as if they know the moment when staying would become effort instead of rest. You step abroad, and the ferry pulls away. The settlement recedes behind you, its lights shrinking into a gentle cluster, then into a faint glow, then into nothing at all but darkness and stars. The ferry descends, and the city lights rise up to meet you. Rooftops return, chimneys, skylights. The air grows thicker with familiar smells. Stone, metal, the faint trace of laundry soap drifting from an open window. The ferry glides back along the same street you left. The ropes at the lampposts lift, tighten, and catch the ferry with practiced ease, and the gangplank lowers. You step off onto the pavement. The wood beneath your shoes becomes stone again. The streetlight's glow returns to a simple circle. A distant car passes at the far end of the road. Its sound ordinary and small. Behind you, the ferry lifts. The ropes slacken. The knots remain. The lanterns drift upward, and the lap of water fades until it is no more than a suggestion, a memory of rhythm. You stand for a moment, looking at the lamppost, the rope still there, coiled neatly, as if nothing has happened. Perhaps nothing has, in the way the city would understand it. You turn and continue on. The street stretches ahead, familiar, patient, waiting, And somewhere above, beyond the rooftops, the ferries keep moving through the night, steady, unhurried, carrying quiet travelers along routes that don't appear on any map. And so you walk home. The day stays behind you, and the night, soft and wide, continues on.